This module will help you to understand 1. Monopoly market structure, demand, revenue and cost function of a monopolist, equilibrium of monopolist both in the short run and in the long run, price discrimination equilibrium and types of price discrimination. Then we look at bilateral monopoly, welfare efficiency and monopoly power. Monopoly occupies one extreme position in terms of market structure, with perfect competition occupying the other polar extreme. In monopoly, a single firm acts as a price setter and a seller. Monopoly firms are called price setters because they select their own price and supply the entire quantity demanded in the market. The monopolists have an effective control over the market due to unavailability of close substitutes for the monopoly product. Some of the main causes that lead a firm to be monopoly are unique raw materials owned by the firm, unique knowledge or techniques of production, production of patented product, use of patented methods of production, government licensing to restrict competitors, imposition of trade barrier to restrict foreign competitors, the size of the market to support not other than the monopoly firm, and lastly, prevalence of increasing returns to scale as a result of cost of production of monopoly firm declines, which create barriers for other firms' entry. The term market structure refers to the kind of market in which firms operate. Markets can be differentiated by the number of firms in the market and the type of product that they produce and sell. Let us look at the structure of monopoly market. The market competitiveness depends on the power of individual firms to influence market prices by changing cost and output level. If the individual firm can influence market price entirely, then the market is a monopoly market. Therefore, the type of monopoly we have been discussing is called pure monopoly, in contrast to other forms of monopoly. In this case, the seller has absolute control over the market. In this module, we will be mainly focusing on pure monopoly and bilateral monopoly. Let us look at the demand and revenue functions of a monopolist. As we have discussed, we come to know that there is a single firm in the industry. Hence, the firm's demand curve is identical to the industry demand curve, which is downward sloping. Assuming X as quantity demanded at monopoly price P, we can write the demand function as X is equal to beta 1 minus beta 2 P. Let it be called equation number 1. The total revenue, that is TR, is a function as is equal to P into X, or we can call this TR. The average revenue functions as equal to TR divided by X, which is equal to Px divided by X, which is equal to P. Let this be equation number 3. The marginal revenue, called MR, function can be derived as follows. The above demand function can be converted into price equation as P is equal to beta 1 divided by beta 2 minus x divided by beta 2. Let us assume that beta 1 divided by beta 2 is equal to B1 and 1 by beta 2 is equal to B2. Then the price equation can be written as P is equal to B1 minus B2 x. Now from equation 2 and equation 5, the TR function can be written as TR is equal to B1 into x minus B2 into x2. Differentiating equation 6 WRTX, we can write MR function as MR is equal to B1 minus 2bx. The marginal revenue is a straight line having the same intercept as that of the demand curve, but its slope is twice the slope of demand curve as shown in figure. The relationship between MR and price elasticity of demand, that is EP, can be derived as follows. Differentiating equation partially, we can write x, we get MR is equal to delta R divided by delta x, which is equal to P plus x into delta P by delta x. The price elasticity of demand is defined as EP is equal to delta x by delta P into P by x, which is equal to delta P by delta x is equal to P by x into 1 by EP, that is price elasticity. Substituting the value of delta P by delta x in equation 8, we get marginal revenue is equal to P plus x into P by x into 1 by EP, that is price elasticity, which is equal to MR equal to P into 1 minus 1 by EP. Equation 11 shows the relationship between marginal revenue and price elasticity of demand. Let us look at the cost function of a monopolist now. The shapes of the cost curves of the monopolist are same as in the theory of perfect competition. The average variable cost, that is ABC, the marginal cost, that is MC, and the average total cost, that is ATC curves are U-shaped. The average fixed cost, that is AFC curve, is a rectangular hyperbola. However, in monopoly, the particular shape of the cost curve do not make any difference to the determination of the equilibrium, provided that the slope of the marginal cost curve is greater than that of the marginal revenue curve. Monopoly differs from perfect competition in respect of the interpretation of the marginal cost curve. Unlike perfect competition, in monopoly, the marginal cost curve is not the supply curve of the producer. In fact, in monopoly, there is no unique relationship between price charged and the quantity supplied. Let us look at the equilibrium of the monopolist. A monopolist always tries to maximize profit and therefore to earn supernormal profits. It works with excess capacity. Let us look at the short run equilibrium. In the short run, the monopolist cannot adjust its plant size, but it maximizes its short run profit at the point where the following order conditions are satisfied. The first order condition is that marginal revenue should be equal to marginal cost. Second order, marginal cost cuts the marginal revenue from below. In the figure, both the conditions, that is MR is equal to MC and MC cuts MR from below, are met, and the monopolist makes profit equal to the area F, C, E, G in figure, whereas it suffers from losses equal to the area B, C, P, F in figure. In figure, AB is the demand curve of a firm and marginal MR is the marginal revenue curve. The short run equilibrium is given by the point D, where the short run marginal cost curve cuts the marginal revenue curve from below. The firm produces OH amount of output and sells it at the price CH. Short run average cost of producing OH unit of the commodity is HF. Therefore, total profit of the firm is the area EGFC. In figure, the short run equilibrium is given by the point D, where short run marginal cost curve cuts the marginal revenue curve from below. The firm produces OH amount of output and sells it at price CH. Short run average cost curve of producing OH unit of the commodity is HB. Therefore, total loss of the firm is the area BCPF. Let us look at the long run equilibrium. A monopolist continues to earn supernormal profits even in the long run, and she will not stay in business if she makes losses in the long run. However, the size of the plant and degree of its resource utilization depend upon the market demand conditions. In the following three figures, we depict three situations. For example, in the figure, the market size does not permit the monopolist to expand to the minimum point of LAC, that is the long run average cost. In this case, not only her plant is of suboptimal size, but also is underutilized. The optimum use of the existing plant is at A, and the minimum point of the long run average cost curve is given by point B. Since the firm utilizes the capacity C, there is excess capacity. Thus, there is no certainty that in the long run the monopolist will reach optimal plant size as in the case of perfect competition. Whether a monopolist stays in the business in the long run will depend on the long run average cost curve. She will exist in the long run unless all costs can be covered. Let us look at price discrimination. Price discrimination is a market situation where a monopolist charges different prices from different buyers for the same product. Price discrimination is not possible under perfect competition. There are two conditions that must be fulfilled for price discrimination to be possible. These conditions are: A, price elasticity of products are different and there must be different sub-markets for the same products. B. Reselling of products should not be possible from the low price market to the high price market. Price discrimination will be possible only under certain circumstances. That is, for example, consumer habits, nature of the good, distances of the market and legal sanctions. Price discrimination is possible when a consumer is ignorant about the fact that other consumers get the same commodity at lower price, or he might have a false assumption that higher prices imply higher quality, or price differences is small enough that he just snubs it. Let us look at the equilibrium of price discrimination. Let us assume that there are two different markets where a monopolist sells his output. Let us assume that the output sold in the first market be x1 and in the second be x2. Thus, the total amount sold by the monopolist is x1 plus x2. Let revenue from each market, which is a function of amount sold, be TR1, which is equal to TR1 into x1, and TR2 is equal to TR into x2. Thus, total revenue will be TR is equal to TR1 plus TR2, which is equal to TR1 into x1 plus TR into TR2 into x2. The total cost is given by C is equal to C into x1 plus x2. Hence, profit of the discriminating monopoly will be pi is equal to TR minus C, which is equal to TR1 into x1 plus TR2 into x2 minus C into x1 plus x2. The condition for profit maximization requires that delta pi over delta x1 is equal to TR1 into x1 minus C into x1 plus x2, which is equal to 0. Delta pi over delta x2 is equal to TR2 into x2 minus C into x1 plus x2 equal to 0. If we compare the two above equations, that is equation 15 and 16, we get TR1 into x1 is equal to TR2 into x2 is equal to C into x1 plus x2. This implies that MR1 is equal to MR2 is equal to MC. Let it be equation 17. Equation 17 states the condition of profit maximization for discriminating monopolist, where marginal revenue of each market will be equal and will also be equal to marginal cost. If MR1 will be higher than MR2, it would be profitable for the monopolist to sell more of the product in the first market. The monopolist will continue selling in the first market till marginal revenue of both markets is equal. Then equilibrium will be restored when MR1 is equal to MR2 is equal to MC. However, the equality of marginal revenue does not mean the equality of prices in the two markets. So long as the price elasticity of demand in both markets is different. In figure, the marginal revenue and average revenue curves of first and second markets are drawn. The combined marginal revenue curves are drawn by horizontally summing over marginal revenue 1 and marginal revenue 2. The combined MR and MC curves intersect each other at point E. Figure indicate that at point E1 and E2, marginal revenue 1 is equal to marginal cost and marginal revenue 2 is equal to marginal cost respectively, which satisfy the condition of profit maximization for a discriminatory monopolist. Thus, the discriminating monopoly will sell X1 star amount of output in market 1 and X2 star amount of output in market 2 at price P1 star and P2 star respectively. Let us look at the different types of price discrimination. There are 3 types of price discrimination, that is personal, local and type of use. In case of personal price discrimination, monopolist charges different prices to different persons. For example, for different patients, a doctor may charge different amounts of consultation fees for same disease. If the monopolist charges different prices for the same product for people of different localities, then price discrimination is said to be local. Price discrimination as per use of goods and services depends on different uses of same commodity. Electricity board, for example, charges different prices for commercial and domestic purposes. Besides, ACPGU has also introduced 3 types of price discrimination. He opined 3 degrees of price discrimination, that is first degree, second degree and third degree price discrimination. First degree price discrimination is said to happen when the monopolist charges a different price for each unit of output. In first degree of price discrimination, monopolist not only charges different prices to different consumers, but also charges different prices for different units sold to the same consumer. According to ACPGU, price of the commodity depends upon consumers' willingness to pay, what we call WTP, for it in discriminating monopoly market. Thus, the maximum price that the consumer is willing to pay for a unit of output is called the reservation price. The monopolists, which are perfectly discriminating, charges the reservation price and which remains the same for each unit of output. In this case, the marginal revenue curve for the monopolist is a demand curve. The output in this case, which is obtained by intersection of demand curve and the marginal cost curve, is the same output obtained in perfect competition. In figure, the monopolist produces output OX star and its revenue is given by OA into OX star, which is equal to the area OABX star. There is no unique equilibrium price in this case because the monopolist charges a different price, that is reservation price for each unit of output sold. The dotted area represents the monopolist's profit. It has been observed that in first degree price discrimination, the monopolist includes the whole consumer surplus into his profit. First degree price discrimination is not so easy to implement in practice. It is possible only for products which no resale is possible. According to Pigot, sometimes the monopolist charges several different prices for different groups of output. This is known as second degree price discrimination. Each of the first X1 units of output, as has been observed in figure, are sold at a price of P1. Similarly, price P2 is set between X1 and X2 units of output and so on. Thus, number of each additional unit between 1 to X1 multiplied by P1 contribute to the revenues. Similarly, each additional unit between X1 to X2 multiplied by P2 contribute to the revenues and so on. This as a result makes MR curve to be a step function, as has been observed by the thick line in figure. The point of intersection between MC and MR curve is the equilibrium point of the monopolist, where output X3 is produced. The monopolist profit is demarcated by the dotted area in figure. The third degree price discrimination. The monopolists divide the entire market as per the demand conditions in two or more groups of consumers and then charges different prices to the different groups, keeping the price constant or same for different persons within a group. Third degree of price discrimination is possible only when the various consumer groups have different elasticities of demand. Let us look at the bilateral monopoly. A bilateral monopoly is a market condition when one producer has monopoly output and there is only one buyer for the product. Since there is only one consumer and one seller, the price and the quantity is determined by negotiations. However, we can always find the upper and lower limits of price and quantities. This situation is described by figure. The demand curve facing the monopoly firm is DD and the marginal revenue curve is MR. MCs is the marginal cost curve of the monopolist. If the monopolist has a superior bargaining power, she will make the buyer behave as if there were many buyers. She will equate marginal cost S to marginal revenue and will produce XS and will charge price PS. However, if the single buyer is supernormal bargaining power, she can make the monopolist behave like a perfect competitor. Thus, the marginal cost S would be supply curve of the monopolist. Corresponding to this supply curve of the monopolist, we can construct the MCB curve, which shows the marginal cost of buying an additional unit. Now, here MCB exceeds the price because in order to purchase an additional unit, the buyer must pay a price and that higher price must pertain to all the units purchased. The buyer equates her marginal cost of buying an additional unit with the marginal value of an additional unit as given by the demand curve and purchases. XB amount. Since the seller is behaving like a competitor with supply curve MCS, she will sell XB units at per unit price PB. The actual solution for the bilateral monopoly problem is indeterminate, depending on the bargaining power of the seller and the buyer. Empirical evidence suggests that bilateral monopoly is a common phenomenon in labor markets. In such a market, workers have labor union and they can challenge a single employer. However, the buyer can take over the monopolist if such a bilateral monopoly occurs in a commodity market and can enjoy vertical integration. Let's now look at welfare, efficiency and monopoly power. It is a common belief that the objective of monopolists is to earn supernormal profits at the cost of efficiency and welfare of consumer in particular and society in general. The monopoly price always remains over and above MC and AC, leading to a loss of allocating efficiency and market failure. The monopolist charges a very high price and resource allocation is inefficient as monopolists work always with excess capacity. Monopolists cannot use resources optimally and by doing so try to equate marginal cost with the marginal revenue at less than optimum point of resource allocation, where price remain very high over and above the marginal cost and average cost. In a competitive industry, market demand equates market supply, price equates marginal cost and dead weight loss is zero as the industry meets the condition for allocative efficiency. But in case of monopolist, the industry or firm charges a higher price by restricting total output and social welfare is reduced due to declining consumer surplus. In figures, competitive industry is in equilibrium at the point where market demand and market supply equate to each other in order to decide equilibrium price and quantity. At this equilibrium point, competitive firms produce quantity Q1, at P come prices in order to maximize social welfare, because at this point both consumers and producers surplus is maximized. But if the same industry will be monopoly, then social welfare will be declined by the area A, B, C as monopoly restricts output at Q2 and charges high price P MON. Monopoly tries to restrict output by inefficiently allocating resources. Let us summarize. In this module, we have discussed the price and output determination under monopoly and bilateral monopoly. The monopolist faces a downward sloping demand function and she is a price setter. In a monopoly market, the producer will have a smaller output and will charge a higher price than the equivalent competitive industry. In case of bilateral monopoly, there is a single producer and a single buyer for the monopoly product. With bilateral monopoly, the market price and output is indeterminate. There are two conditions that must be fulfilled for price discrimination to be possible. These conditions are: 1. Price elasticity of products are different and there must be different sub-markets for the same product. 2. Reselling of products should not be possible from the low price market to the high price market. In case of personal price discrimination, monopolist charges different prices to different persons. If the monopolist charges different prices to same product for people of different localities, then price discrimination is said to be local. Price discrimination as per the use of goods and services depends on different uses of same commodity. PIGU has also introduced 3 types of price discrimination, that is first degree, second degree and third degree price discrimination. First degree price discrimination is said to happen when the monopolist charges different price for each unit of output. According to PIGU, sometimes the monopolist charges several different prices for different groups of output. This is known as a second degree price discrimination. In third degree price discrimination, the monopolist divide the entire market as per the demand condition into 2 or more groups of consumers and then charges different prices to different groups, keeping the price constant or same for different persons within a group. Bilateral monopoly is a common phenomena in labor markets. In labor market, workers have labor unions and they can challenge a single employer. However, the buyer can take over the monopolist if such a bilateral monopoly occurs in a commodity market and can enjoy vertical integration. The monopoly price always remain over and above the marginal cost and average cost, leading to a loss of allocative efficiency and market failure. In monopoly market, the resource allocation is inefficient as monopolist works always with excess capacity. Monopolists cannot use resources optimally and by doing so try to equate marginal cost with the marginal revenue at less than optimum point of resource allocation, where price remain very high over and above the marginal cost and average cost. However, in a competitive industry, market demand equates market supply, price equates marginal cost and dead weight loss is 0 as the industry meets the conditions for allocative efficiency. But in case of monopoly, the industry charges a higher price by restricting total output and social welfare is reduced due to declining consumer surplus.